In my last video, we talked about the level of detail and the nature of the writing you're going to use to encapsulate that autopsy in your prose. And now we're going to talk about not writing that autopsy. Maybe you don't need the autopsy itself in your story at all, especially if you think it would not appeal to the reader, or perhaps it would bog down the book, or maybe you don't feel skilled enough to write it, or you tried writing it and you're saying, I'm just not believable. You can skip the autopsy itself, introduce that somebody is going to autopsy, and then have other characters discussing the autopsy results later. Maybe those autopsy results are now in the hands of the police or the prosecuting attorney, and they are discussing the findings from the autopsy without the procedure ever actually having been written into the book. Or, as I mentioned before, that, in my own book, The First Autopsy in the Grave Below, the autopsy itself is not integral to the story, but it's part of the background and setting for learning about these characters and the world they inhabit. Maybe you just have your characters talking about their experience at an autopsy or multiple autopsies, or reminiscing about their first autopsy together, but they're not actually being shown doing it, and then you're meeting the character and you're developing their personality, and you're learning about how they talk to one another in a professional setting, or maybe a clandestine setting if that autopsy was not a legally performed autopsy. So you don't have to write it, even if you need the autopsy. You can potentially skip the procedure itself and get to the results. And indeed, that may help the pacing of your story, but only you can decide that.